Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to be telling you how to change the oil in a 2016 Kawasaki KX250F. The things you will need is a tray to hold your bolts and stuff. You'll especially need your owner's manual, a clean rag, something to hold your oil in, and a funnel, a 14mm socket, 8mm socket, got your wrenches. Get a trusty oil. I use 10W40, and I don't have one of those little ratio right things, so I just fill it up in a little clean oil thing. I always have one in the garage. I'll fill up how much it needs, and I'll check and see my oil levels. And I'm not going to be replacing the oil filter today, so I do not have an oil filter with me. You will also need a fairly clean work area and a clean bike. A clean bike always makes it easier to work on, so keep that in mind. You will also need a flathead screwdriver or something that has a flathead, or like a penny or something will work. The first thing I recommend you do is remove your skid plate. It makes it for an easier job of removing the oil. I had previously removed most of the bolts and loosened the last two so it'd stay on for your demonstration. And I will kind of just brush off some of this dirt that's under there to just kind of keep the area a little bit cleaner. I'll move my radiator hose, the overfill hose, out of the way, and now we'll move on to the next step. With my bike warm, I will remove this cap for the oil fill with my screwdriver. Just kind of get a little air through for when we pour out the oil. And like I said, you should have your engine warm because it'll help get most of the oil out. Okay, next you should put your engine thing to trap your oil as it comes out under the bike. Then next we will loosen our oil drain bolt and screw the rest of it out with our hand. Oil will start to kind of pour. Make sure you have the washer. I got it under your bolt because you don't want to lose it in your oil. Now just let it pour. Give it a little bit of time. Let most of it get out. The longer you let it lay, the more oil will get out, and that's what you want, is more oil get out, obviously. As the oil's draining, just kind of clean off the bolt a little bit. Kind of dry your hand so it's not so slimy, and don't get all the dirt all over it because you want it to stay as clean as possible, which is kind of hard during an oil change. Inspect your bolt right there, and then check your washer to make sure it looks alright. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. Oil, it's almost done with a straight stream. It just kind of drip out of there for a little longer. And then you usually can get a few oil changes out of these washers after a little while. Once you really start to notice some pitting in the metal, you really want to replace it. And then set these in your thing with all your screws so you don't lose them, because they really are easy to lose. While you're at it, also check your O-ring that came off the filler cap. Make sure it's no grooves or tears. It still looks in good shape. And make sure it's not like stretched out from oversized and stuff, and usually you can get a few fills or changes with them before you need to replace them. And they are very crucial to replace so you don't get any dirt in your engine, because it really adds the chance for dirt to get in with just a little screw, metal to metal. Make sure you clean that off real good since I just dropped it. While we're still draining, I like to sit on the bike, hold down my kill switch, and kick it over a few times or so it just gets a little excess oil out of it. You can hear it just kind of started back up again. Shouldn't have started it like it did if the kill switch works. That sounds like it's really moving out now. Okay, rock your bike back and forth a little bit. It helps get a little bit of the excess oil out, obviously. Looks like I got all mine out. And you want to be to this part where it just not really coming. Before we move our pan out of the way, we want to put our screw back in. Make sure you have the washer on it. Screw it back in there as much as possible, finger tight, and then grab your rag, then wipe all that oil out. Just it reduces the amount of dirt that will be caught on your engine from the oil. Make sure you get it as good as you can and clean as you can. Once you're finished cleaning, you want to grab your socket and wrench back and put it on your thing and tighten it up. And I don't usually do torques because I have my hands, and usually I'll just get it snug. Don't over tighten it because they strip out fairly easy, and or it's really expensive, to get your new cases, obviously. But I'll check it again in a second. Don't over tighten it, remember. Just use your hands. You should know when tight feels tight. I got my funnel and I set it in there since you can't get it all the way down since the clutch plates. And I kind of just grabbed it with my Kickstarter, so hopefully it won't fall out when I'm pouring, because it's kind of hard to do one-handed, hold a camera and pour while holding a funnel. And the book said, the owner's manual said that it calls for 7,500 milliliters of, I think that's right, milliliters of oil. So what I did is I filled that up to about 75 of my Maxima and just easily start pouring. Don't pour it all in at once because you kind of just want it to drain everywhere. You don't let your air out. Evenly gets it everywhere, or evenly distributes it all over your engine. And once all that's out, just kind of let it sit there. Get the rest of it out. I made sure my washer, my O-ring and everything was clean. Then I set it back into the groove of the fill bolt. Now I'll put it back in here, get it started. And right now we don't have to tighten it all the way, because we'll still be checking levels. We just want to get the bike warmed again, let it distribute all over the engine, and we'll check our levels. Okay, so I ran the bike for about 5 minutes. Now I'll put it straight up and down, hold it straight up and down my arm, and as you can see that little thing, it's not quite all the way. You can see the marks supposed to be in between. It's fairly close, not really fairly close, so well. But I will add about 100 milliliters more of oil. and see what that does for it. Okay, so I just added about 100 milliliters more of oil. I kicked the bike over a few times, holding my kill switch, and that's about where we're at, and I'm content with that. It's about right halfway between need to fill and full, a little over, and I'm happy. So that's how you change the oil in a 2016 KX250F. And if you change the oil filter, you undo that screw and that screw, pull this cap off. There's no certain direction when you put it back in which way's up, because it's perfectly symmetrical, and on the inside it's symmetrical. And you pull your oil filter out from there. You know, just kind of wipe it down with a rag a little bit. You know, you put it back in your filter, and be careful because there's a spring in there that makes sure you get it the correct way when you put it back together. And about that, what most people don't do is, before you put your drain bolt back in, when you do your oil filter, change your oil filter. So take it out, put it back in, and then put your drain bolt back in, and then fill it with oil. Because when you pull your filter out, it opens up a few more passageways for oil to drain out, so it just gets a little extra oil out of the engine. And note that when you do that, you will have to add a little bit more oil than what your manual says to add. So that's just kind of a little thing that I've learned over the years with dirt bikes. And so if you ever watch a video on how they change oil, you never really notice them doing that. So that's just something that you kind of want to take note of. Okay. Make sure you tighten your fill bolt all the way, get it pretty snug, and that's it. Before your oil change is completely over with, I like to take my oil and kind of swirl it around the thing and the bowl. And that's why I like this in, because it allows light to get through the oil just a tiny bit, so you can see if there's any metal shavings in your oil, because the oil filters, you can't always tell, and this always helps you do a little double check. And if you don't change your oil filter, this will just kind of give you a little note to see. And there is a spot that looks like in the middle, but that almost looks like a little shaving, except that is 2 air bubbles, if someone saw that and they thought it was. But so far, this looks pretty clean. Once I've got rid of my oil, I just do a final check over the pan to see if anything has stuck to the walls, and so far that looks pretty clean. And I do not advise that you just wastefully get rid of the oil. Put it somewhere like in a bucket that you'll bring it to an oil recycle place, or just recycle it, or do something smart with it. Don't just put it in water or put it in random places on the ground, because this is our world. We only get one world to live on, so let's treat it wisely. Make sure you replace your skid plate. And just as a little note, sorry, my finger was in the way, but these 2 bolts right there on the end of your skid plate, they strip out very easy. It's stupid where they're at. They should be fairly strong holes for them to screw in, but they do strip out pretty easy, so watch it when you screw them back in. Be careful. You're not done with your oil change until your work area is clean, and once that is clean, you can say you're done. So that's it. It's a 2016 Kawasaki KX250F, and I just showed you how to do an oil change, so you can do one too if you didn't know how. Okay, see ya.